my first 2 deals, I made something like $30,000.
We can talk about side hustle.
I just wanted to make money.
I think that whole thing is really keeping people back. Focus on one thing.
You have to grow your capacity.
You can have 3 different businesses, but you're still going to make $100,000 because you're still a $100,000 entrepreneur.
You don't really lose unless you don't learn.
We had 1,000 people on the list. Called my wife and I was like, hey, I just spent $16,000. She was like, what? Hey, what's up? I'm Keith.
And I'm your co-host, D. And this is the Defiant Life podcast, where we defy the laws of mediocrity. And man, we got a banger for y'all today. Keith, I want to start it off today by talking about being an entrepreneur of your own life.
Okay.
Now, check this out. Now, when I say that, what's the first thing? What does that make you feel? Where does your mind go?
It feels like somebody who has control, who knows where they're going in life and has goals and structure and that kind of stuff.
It's kind of cool that that's your default, that you think that way, because I'm sure you and I both know some entrepreneurs that have not been successful.
That's true. I've been there.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why I want to kind of talk about this today is because I think all of us have dreams and visions, and when we're in a car rides on our own and watching television, we all look at things. And one of the main reasons why we watch social media and reality television is because we live vicariously through people. Yeah. Right. And we want more for ourselves. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so.
But we just don't know how to get there. So today, I would love to unpack some of that stuff, kind of like go through it, go down the line. And I would love for you to drop some nuggets of knowledge.
I'll do my best.
Nuggets of knowledge, right? Alliterations are my thing. So, you know.
Is that an alliteration? Knowledge is okay, but
well, no. Okay.
Sound.
So let me tell you why it is an alliteration, because my kids are smarter than me already.
That's true.
Right? My babies are smarter than me. They teach me stuff every day. And they told me it could be the same letter or the same sound.
I got you.
Right.
So it is an alliteration because of the sound. I got you.
Because of the sound, yeah. All right, so we're done for today. You learned something. So
there you go. That's a nugget.
We just dropped it on you. But so here's how I like to start this off. Alex Hormozi, is that how you pronounce his last name?
I think, yeah.
Alex Hormozi, he's a serial entrepreneur. Started off in the fitness industry, selling personal training and things like that. He is a wildly successful entrepreneur, someone I highly respect, and you actually recommended a couple of books to me from him.
Yeah, he actually was a big influence on me in the last few years because I was a customer of his at Gym Launch. And so it was a kind of a bad business decision that I made a few years ago, but it was actually probably one of the best decisions at the same time, because I learned a ton from working with him and his company. And it was actually something that I think led me to be where I am today. So, okay.
You want to unpack that just a little bit more?
Yeah. So before COVID, I don't remember what year it was, maybe 2018. 19, I don't remember, 18. So anyway, I actually bought a gym, which was a terrible idea because I owned another company in a different city and was running that company. And I, like a lot of entrepreneurs, lost focus in what I was doing and chased the shiny object, which was a gym that I used to own, and I bought it back. So I knew I knew the business. I knew I could grow the business. The one thing I didn't know that well at the time was marketing. So Gym Launch, somehow through their marketing, got with me, and we signed up for the program, and it was amazing. It was like we grew so much at the gym, but because my focus wasn't there, it actually turned out to be kind of a bad thing for us. But in the long run, it was awesome because I learned a ton about marketing and sales and that kind of stuff from them, which I was able to bring back to my other businesses and sort of grow those to a place that they had been before.
So you don't know this yet, but you are all up in my little conversation right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
You just set me up. You throwing the alley. You starting them alone right now. You know what I'm saying?
I do my best, you know.
And I'm going to deliver, right? Mailman, you know. Did y'all catch that? But anyway, so one of the things that I'm learning currently right now from Alex is how he sets up businesses, or at least one of his business models and some of his principles. And one of the things that he says is if you envision a stool, like a bar stool, right? And with his illustration, the bar stool has 3 legs. And his 3 legs to support that stool for anyone else to sit upon are promotion, fulfillment, and operations, right? If you think about it, And we can talk about those just a little bit. So like when he talks about promotion, it's more so like marketing.
Well, this is not Alex's thing.
That's not
my
Alex.
thing. No,
Oh, this your thing? Oh,
yeah,
my bad, bro. I'm gonna have to give you your flowers. Okay. Well, let's talk about that then. So my bad. Okay.
Mess up the whole podcast. We gotta start over.
No, we good. So, you know what? I thought that was Alex the whole time because it's so brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's such a great thing. All right, well, okay, talk about that, and I'm gonna transition from that into
the three-legged stool thing did come from Alex.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was part of his sales thing, which I've seen on YouTube now, I think. And he talks a little bit about that. I think maybe he's moved away from that a little bit in his closure framework. I'm not real sure, but definitely that was one of the things that we did at the gym, and that I've incorporated into sales for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something that we've worked on from working with him. But the business thing was kind of just me thinking through how I'm starting these businesses that we're doing now, and how sort of in the past some of the downfalls that I've had in business, what did they come from? It always stems back to one of those three things. It's either I didn't have the promotion, which is marketing and sales,
mm-hmm.
or I didn't have something with fulfillment, wasn't right.
Okay.
And that's kind of part of the gym process, actually, because we didn't have all of that stuff set up, and we had so many people. It was crazy.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, but it still can be a problem if you don't have that, right? So then, and then operations was another part of that.
Right.
It was kind of
what I like about this podcast, and what I like about what we're doing is we can really take our time and kind of work through some of these things, because what I'm finding out when I'm out and about in my daily life, talking to people, taking my kids to different events, being a part of different things, is that most people, like I started to say at the top of the show, are hungry for more, for something bigger than themselves. John Mayer said, "I'm bigger than my body gives me credit for." And I think a lot of people like that song because they can relate to it. A lot of people feel the potential that they have inside. They just don't know how to get there. And with that being said, I think it's important. I think people are hungry for details, right? Mm-hmm. So let's go a little bit into each of those legs of the stool that you created. Okay. That sounds kind of bad, but we're all adults here, right? You regular? You good? You regular? Okay.
Good.
Gotta put you on the spot. We have over 20 plus years of friendship, so
Yeah.
So let's start with the fulfillment leg. All right. I'm sorry. Let's start with the promotion leg. So what is that? What is
Promotions?
that? Yeah. What does that mean?
Okay. So to me, and other people might not agree with this. It's just how my brain works. So for me, promotions encompasses marketing and sales.
Okay.
So that's, I think a lot of people focus on the wrong style of marketing, which for me in the beginning was what I did too, which is branding. And that's not the wrong thing to do. It's just a long-term play. So it doesn't necessarily net you a lot of results right away.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in the long run is better.
Mm-hmm.
But, people want to go like get on billboards and do things like that to get their name out, which is fine, but that's branding. It's not necessarily going to bring you sales right now.
That's
so
good.
Then for me and for a lot of people, really what they need right now is leads. And so lead generation is a whole different type of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the sales process. So a lot of small businesses don't have any sales process at all. They're just, they talk to people when they come in the door, and that's pretty much it. Most people don't even have any marketing, set up other than business cards and billboards. So, so that's kind of the whole thing with promotions is being able to get people in the door and then be able to get them to buy your product or service.
Mm-hmm. So. And then the operations.
So operations, to me, includes everything that makes the business run. So
operate,
yeah. So HR, legal, bookkeeping,
paperwork.
all the admin work, all the things that like keep the business going.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff is important too. Some people do a decent job at that, but I feel like that's also one of the things that people struggle with a lot. They don't really know how to recruit people. They don't really know how to train people. So you hear a lot of small business owners saying stuff like, man, good people are hard to find. Like, and that's true if you don't know how to do it. So I've learned this over the last year and a half. That's been my focus. How do I build a high performing team? And so that's kind of how me and you got hooked up in what we're doing, and so some other people. And so that's been kind of my focus recently.
What I find is there are a lot of talented people in the world. There's a lot of people that can do a lot of good work over a vast spectrum of things. But most people don't have the skill set to grow a bit. You know, everybody would be independently wealthy if they were all great business builders, right?
That's right.
So most people with the fulfillment portion can, let's just say I were a nail tech and I can paint your nails.
Right.
It don't mean I can make $1 million a year as a nail tech professional.
Right. Fulfillment is basically coming through on your promises to the customer.
Okay.
So, whatever that is. So like what you're talking about, somebody who's a nail tech, or, you know, you see this all the time. Actually, Michael Gerber wrote some books about this, the E-Myth Mastery. Those are great books about, and I think he used a baker as an analogy. So somebody who's really good at baking cakes might want to open a bakery, and then they run into all these issues because they don't know how to run a business. They just know how to bake cakes, and people like them. So then they might even sell a lot of them, but they can't grow the business because they don't know how to hire people. And then they wind up making those mistakes. They don't have good processes and systems and different things in place. And so they wind up losing out on either on operations or promotion. They don't know how to do that stuff. They're really good at the product or the service, but they're not really good at any of the other facets of the business.
Which are, and here's the thing, it doesn't matter how good you are at baking that cake, you can't sit on a stool that has one leg.
That's right. That's right.
You got to have 3 legs. I'm not going to try to sit on no stool
that
has one leg, you know. So these other 2 legs, a lot of times are the boring stuff that doesn't come to us naturally. I don't know a whole lot of people that enjoy the back office type of stuff. A lot of people that enjoy putting together creative things for marketing and thinking about sales tactics and all kind of things like that. Most people, they're either good at something and that's what they focus on. I think we do a good job of focusing on our strengths and not really trying to bring up the rear on our weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a side note real quick.
Yeah.
The 3-legged stool thing was not even something that I thought about when I thought about the 3 sort of branches of the business. It was just, I was working through, I'm creating some businesses right now. So like, what do I need to teach the people that I'm working with? How does this work? How does the whole business set up? And then also kind of trying to build out a course for other people who can come and look and learn how to create a business. And it just so happened that those were the 3 things. And then I think me and you were actually talking about Alex's 3-legged stool thing. And I was like, man, that fits perfectly into what we got, right?
That's what it was.
So you thought Alex just created the whole thing. I mean,
that was my little shameless plug for Alex Harmozy. If you want to come on the show, bro, you know what I'm saying? We got a spot for you right here. So let me tell you how that integrated into what I was thinking about today when I was thinking about becoming an entrepreneur of your own life. So like your analogy, I'm thinking about the stool, 3 legs, and my 3 legs of personal entrepreneurship, because a lot of people are not in control of their own lives. They're not the boss of their own lives. Their lives run them. A lot of, you know, that song back in the day before my time was everybody's working for the weekend. Yep. That's because they're working for their lives. Right. Their lives isn't really working for them, right? So they would just want to break. They want a reprieve. They want to unpack all that stuff, you know. So what I want to talk about are my 3 stool legs. I should have picked a chair or something. I don't know. But I think the first thing off top is you have to have that desire to want to be in control, to want to be a boss, to want to manage your life. And you know what I'm saying? So to me, you have to be hungry first, right? You were about to say something right now.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And all of us knows what it feels like to be hungry. And when you're hungry, what do?
Eat.
You got to eat. So let's take that. You fallen into my trap. So EAT. And I want to break it down. That's an acronym. And with the E, I think the first thing or not the first, I'm not saying it as the principal thing, but one of the most important things of becoming your own entrepreneur is education, right? I think, and I know for a fact that when I grew up, I did not have a lot of financial mentors. I love my family. I love my mom. My mom was an entrepreneur. She had her own salon for many years. She was an entrepreneur her whole life, but she didn't have her financial IQ wasn't that great because she didn't have anybody to kind of show her the ropes, right? There's a lot that goes into that we just, and we don't know what we don't know.
It sounds like when you are talking about education, you're not talking about school system. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly right. You know, you were one of the biggest people in my life that made me start thinking about things differently. I was a with the grain type person until I heard something different that piqued my interest. And that's going to get into some of my other points a little bit later on, but you're exactly right. I think that, and like we said at the top of the show, we're here to defy the laws of mediocrity. I think culture, I think society, I think our quote unquote system, depending on what side of the fence you kind of reside on that. I don't want to piss nobody off. I already pissed people off by
people
saying
are
pissed
going to
off.
be pissed off no matter what.
You're right. So you might as well go ahead and speak your truth, right?
That's right.
I think we're geared to all swim in one direction.
Yeah.
And that's it. We don't a lot of us don't really challenge it. And sometimes we might see somebody that's different, and somebody's labeled different, they're labeled a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's not, being different is not always a bad thing. A lot of times it's the best thing. And you hear a lot of these vastly successful entrepreneurs like Elon and Bill Gates and some of these other folks that they don't have doctorate degrees.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, you can't rely on the public school system. You can't rely on, I'm going to step on some toes with this real quick. And I'm going to let you get yours in because I know you're about to say something. You can't rely on the public school system.
Mm-hmm.
You can't rely on tradition, right?
Yeah.
You can't rely on your culture.
Yeah.
What your parents have to say. There's a lot of stuff that's right, that's normal, that's good, that we're supposed to do, and that we get indoctrinated by.
Yeah. And
that could lead us down to the path of mediocrity.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. So first of all, I think, we started a school a year and a half ago because we didn't feel like the public school system was set up in a way to set our kids up for success as adults.
Me and my wife. Okay.
So Morgan, she's right over there.
She's in the peanut gallery.
So yeah, I think, we actually got a lot of pushback from people who were in the education system. I think people would get really offended by this, and we're not trying to put down teachers or anything like that. We just think the system is not set up in a way that sets up the kids for success. That's all. So, but there's still some really great people in the system.
Absolutely.
So we're not talking negatively about the people. We're just talking about the system itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to operate in the system that doesn't work for somebody who is trying to help people. Mm-hmm. So that's why you see a lot of really good teachers leaving the system now, I think.
Interesting.
So anyway, but a lot of what they said to us was, it's not the school's job to teach them about money. That's the parent's job.
Mm.
But I think there's a lot wrong with that. I think that, for one thing, the school system originally was set up for employment. It was set up for people to go out and get a job, teach people how to get a job and be proficient in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea that it's not meant to teach you how to live as an adult or succeed in the society that we set up, I think is probably not right. But also, most parents don't have that education because they came through the same system. So relying on the parents to educate the kids, which they should be doing. I'm not saying that parents shouldn't be, but I think that also they're not getting that education either.
Right.
So recently there's been this huge boom in online education, which I think is great.
Right.
And I think that, really school in and of itself is obsolete at this point. I think it's moving in that direction.
Ooh, that's strong.
Especially
that's a strong
college.
statement.
You see that happening with college already.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think in general, the whole idea that we need to go to school in the way that we've been doing it for the last 150 years is probably not right anymore.
And that's the caveat right there, in the way that we've been doing it the last 150 years.
Yeah.
Right. If the school system were to change to suit people, differently, then, okay, that's cool. And that's kind of what I was leaning to when I said tradition, family, and stuff like that. Is what I'm trying to say is none of us have really been educated because we all came through the same conduit. Right.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that puts, I think, everybody at a disadvantage. But if we can work that into what's going on in the education system. So in our school, we teach entrepreneurship every year. We teach, or actually middle and high school, they do apprenticeships. So they actually go out and get experience in the real world, which in my opinion is way more valuable than sitting in a classroom learning trigonometry or whatever you're never going to use. I understand the value behind that stuff to some degree too, but you can learn those same problem solving skills solving real problems.
Yeah. Like on the job training.
Yeah.
Right.
You can learn. I mean, there are young people who are middle and high school age who are making a real difference in the world because they're out doing that stuff.
And so I gave this analogy the other day. I remember when I was a child, I would ride in the back seat, or even when I got old enough. Well, the rules weren't the same back then when I was growing up as they are now. Now you got to sit in the car seat until you 18, and you got to have a helmet on and all this other stuff. I mean, they got more gear on in the car than they had in War and Nam. You know what I'm saying? So
That's true.
But sitting in the back seat and the passenger seat from that perspective, I knew how to get everywhere. I knew how to do everything.
Yeah.
But it's a totally different experience once you get in the driver's seat. Right? I can tell you how to, you see what I'm saying? So once you're at the helm, once you're in charge. So if I were in a situation where I had to be rushed to the hospital, I want someone to take me that's already done that before. Not somebody that read a manual, you know, and that
makes a lot of sense though, because that's true. You don't learn things by reading about them. You might learn about them by reading about them, but you don't learn how to do anything without doing it.
Right.
So getting experience is the thing that you need to do when you're young. And I spent 10 years in college reading about stuff. So, so that's why I didn't start a business until I was 30.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that was an option. I just thought I had to get a degree and get a job. That was what everybody else was doing.
Big facts.
Yeah.
Big facts. Hold on real quick. I got to rank on you real quick. So
okay.
Riddle me this.
Okay.
Did you go from a philosophy major to a PE major or vice versa?
I went from secondary education history.
That's what they call it.
Secondary education with an emphasis in history. Then I went to PE.
Okay.
Then 2 months before graduation, I dropped out of school altogether to trade stocks because I had learned how to trade stocks.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, why in the hell am I going to school? Why am I even going to do that? I can make more in a day than I can make in a year doing that. Like, why not just do this? And I enjoy this, and I don't even like going to the school. I hated it. I hated it because I did not like children. I did not like large groups of children, especially at that time, because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't enjoy what I was doing at all. And I was like, I like this. Why don't I just do this?
Right.
So
it seems like that was your first great awakening right there.
It really was. That was probably, and so that I have to give my parents some credit for that. My dad was an entrepreneur too.
Yeah.
But for some reason it didn't register with me that I could do that. It was like, no, I got to go to school and get a job and, get my degree. But they actually were learning how to do stock trading, and he didn't really know much about computers. So he was like, hey, come look at this stuff. Maybe you'll like this. You know, it'll be easier for you because you already understand the computer stuff. And I was like, okay. So we went to Texas and went to this conference, and it was just like a 3-day conference about trading stocks. And I learned about options, which is like the riskiest and like hardest one probably. So anyway, I learned how to do that. He paid me for the summer to trade stocks, but it was only a couple $100 a week. And so I actually got up at like 4 a.m. during that summer and went and drove a truck for Mission Foods, and I was delivering bread to like Walmart and grocery stores.
Oh man, I see those trucks all the time.
Yeah,
early in the morning. That's wild.
Yeah,
okay.
I did that.
Okay,
and then I would come home, and I'd get home around like 8 or so, and then I would get ready for the stock market to open, and I would get all my trades set up and all that, and then I would watch that during the day.
Right.
And I'd paper traded for a summer, and I learned how to do it, and then they gave me some money at the end of the summer to actually trade, and I was like doing pretty well. I made some decent money, but then I went back to school, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And then halfway through that semester, my last semester, I was student teaching. I was like, man, I really don't like this at all. I just want to trade stocks.
Yeah.
And so I brought my computer to school one day and like set up some trades, and I made like $1,000 or something in like a couple hours. And I was like, wow, why am I even doing this? This doesn't make any sense.
And listen, as a college student, $1,000 might as well have been, a pension or a golden parachute.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. But that's obviously not the end of the story, because I don't trade stocks for a living. So, so then I dropped out of school, but then it was a job, and then I had to like really do it and make money and compete against people who were way better than me. So, that didn't work out that well actually. So, and there's some stories in there, but
yeah.
But then I went back to school because I still felt like I had to get my degree. So I went back to school for philosophy.
That's that indoctrination right there.
But this time I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back and get my degree, but I'm going to study what I want to study.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to school to learn instead of just to get a job. So I didn't do it for job training. I just did it because I wanted to learn. So I was in philosophy for that.
Yeah. So along with that, so we talked about education in there, not having to go to school. You got a lot of stuff outside of traditional schooling. and also you were aware of a different world, like your options and everything. So I think being made privy to different things is probably one of the biggest things that goes underrated, because there was a whole world of business, finance, of life in general that I didn't even think was attainable.
Yeah.
So I would drive by a hotel or something, and it would never cross my mind that I could own something like that.
Right. Yeah, me too. It was like, well, they have this going on in their parking lot, but it was never like, who is they? Who are these people? I never even thought that people own that. It was just like, oh yeah, we go and stay here. We pay them $100 and we stay in the room. I never thought about that. Yeah. I never thought about an apartment complex having an owner. Like I never even thought of that was like, I don't know, it just never crossed my mind. I grew up, so I wound up making my real money in real estate, doing mobile home parks, and it was never something I thought about until down the road. But I grew up on a sort of a road that was like to a nice neighborhood golf course community, but I was not in that community, and I was actually right outside of a mobile home park. And so my whole life I grew up playing in the mobile home park. That was like my neighborhood. And so I never thought about like who owns that dirt and how they make money off of that. It was never even something I thought about, you know?
Yeah. So like I said, and even with your dad being an entrepreneur, you know, that stuff didn't seep in. And, you know, and I'm not trying to blame you or your dad for that. It's just, I think this word, you know, society and indoctrination, you know, we just kind of molded into, so education, and along with that education opens up opportunities for awareness and just a whole new world, right? So it's like, I can do better than just a 9 to 5. Nothing against that, but if I desire more, there is more for me out there, right? So that's pretty.
Like your boy Toby says, most of these sheep will move like clones. Like, most people do just follow that path, and that's how I was too at that time. So it was just like, you know, there it is. I was going down the same path I was told to go down.
And well, thank God for the Defiant Life podcast that we have going on right now, because we want to give people the opportunity to hear something different, something counterculture, which is becoming a lot more normal now. You know what I'm saying? For people to pursue entrepreneurship because of the world we live in, how quick it is for you to be able to do certain things and collect revenue through social media streams and just all kinds of different things. But so to wrap up the E, education covers all of that stuff that we just talked about, right? And you would say that was a pretty important leg right there, right?
It's probably the most important one. Well, maybe they all work all work together, but it is probably the one that most people are missing. Yeah, most people have the drive. They want to do these things. They just don't know how.
Right. That's it. Yeah. So then there's some people who are made privy to this information, to this world, who actually get education, start learning stuff, which brings me to my next step in the EAT acronym, you know, is A. And I kind of coined that to be action, to take action. Yeah. Right. So this one right here resonates with me a whole lot, because I used to be the biggest procrastinator and took pride in being a procrastinator, right? School projects and things. I know a lot of y'all can relate with me on that. School projects, last minute. My wife, they used to call her maiden name was Kenneth, and they used to call her last minute Kenneth, right?
Well, my parents probably have some horror stories of me telling them that I had a project due the next day and we needed all this material from the store. And it was like 9 p.m. Everything's closed. Like,
bro, we were raised different. I would not dare ask my mom last minute like that.
I remember asking them like, "Hey, oh yeah, I have this project, dude. I need to get all these poster boards and all this stuff." And then like, now?
Yeah.
Like, well, it's due tomorrow at 8 a.m. Oh, what?
Oh my gosh, I had so many stories that just triggered a lot of stories that I don't want to go. I don't want to go there. Yeah. But taking action is a big thing, because it's one thing to be educated, and a lot of people read. I went to a buddy's house of mine the other day, had every book that you could imagine, Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know, work 4-hour work day, all this other whatever all these books.
Yeah.
But they're just sitting there, right? And he's just sitting there,
right?
And he ain't doing nothing.
Yep.
So I think the next important leg to becoming an entrepreneur of your own life is actually taking action.
And that's a big one too.
It is.
Yeah. There are probably fewer people who have the right kind of education and don't take action. The reason for that is you got to take action to seek out that education. You don't just get it. So like you have to actually go and find that education, because it's not given to you. So the people who seek it out, most of them actually will do something with it. But I think there's a lot of people also who, like you said, have all the books. They read all the books. They might understand the concepts, but they don't actually go out and do it. So
that's good. I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day, and we were just going back and forth talking about some business stuff, talking about a little bit of life stuff. And she just dropped out this little phrase. She said, there's a difference between being technical and being tactical. And then she kept it moving. I was like, hold on. You can preach that.
Yeah.
You know, so that conversation kind of belongs in here because one of the things that I like to say is done is better than perfect. Right? So going back to my other friend with all the books on the shelf, all these books, all this knowledge, all this stuff all this money he spent, he can probably tell you everything about everything to a T and can be technically sound and all that stuff.
Right.
But when it comes to actually doing it, being tactical and getting in there and making it happen, none of that stuff. So he doesn't have that leg.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's people who are really successful who don't really even have the education, or at least they're not as probably technically, smart as some other people who are successful. They go out and do it and they learn on the job.
Right.
So they start with the action, and then the education comes from the experience.
And it kind of feeds into what you were saying earlier about having that experience versus the scholastic knowledge of it, the academia.
Yeah, man, I can tell you, I read all the books before I started, before I started real estate at least. And I actually was in a service-based business for a long time. I had a few of them. So like after when I was in philosophy program, after I was like in my mid-20s at this point, still in college, but
8 years to go. A few moments later.
And then so I actually started it, and it wasn't like I was thinking about starting a business. I was just like, man, I need to make some money so I can go do what I want to do.
Right.
So I was like giving guitar lessons. I wanted to start doing CrossFit. So in order to pay for that, I got a couple of guitar students teaching the guitar lessons.
Okay.
So it took me like 2 clients, and that made me a couple $100. I could go do that. Right. So that was like my first time making money, not at a job, I guess.
What'd that feel like?
Well, I just knew I could go to CrossFit, so it was good.
Okay.
So I got on Craigslist back in the day. That was what you did. So I put it on Craigslist. Hey, I'm looking for guitar clients.
Right.
Been playing guitar now for however long, and had a couple people call me and set it up, and then went and joined the CrossFit gym when I got their payment. So, and then I started a friend of mine came, and he's like, he was like a salesman, and I did not like sales at all, hated sales, but he was like, I'll do the sales, and you're like in good shape and strong, can do this stuff. You help me with the work, I'll do the sales. I was like, okay, great. So we started a junk hauling business.
Oh,
and we bought a truck for like $2,000.
That's right. What was it called?
Haul.
Hasty Haul.
Hasty Haul. I think we saw like an ad for college hunks hauling junk. And we're like, people do this? Like, people making money. We're like reading about these people who started it. And we're like, we can do this.
Right.
So we like went and bought a truck for like, it was like $2,000 or $3,000 or something. And I think I had like $1,000 and he threw in $1,000 or something. And we bought this old truck that very rarely cranked. And we would,
so funny.
We would go and like, we found out that you have to have a minimum because people would call us with like one heavy thing they couldn't get out of the house. And we were like, just 2 guys. We didn't have any equipment, like nothing. We were just in there like manhandling this big armoire or whatever.
Or a piano.
Yeah, piano upstairs. It was awful.
Through the snow.
But we did that for a summer. We made a little bit of money off of it. So it was like my first, like those were my first steps into actually taking action in business. And I had no idea what I was doing. Then I opened a gym. Still had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I learned way more through that stuff.
Right.
And going through all the processes than I did just by reading a book.
So that's good. And once you get a taste of that, because you were getting a taste of entrepreneurship. Yeah. Right? And the fruit of entrepreneurship can be sweet if it's watered and if it's manicured and taken care of the right way. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So that's really awesome that you had those experiences doing that. But you took action, learned as you went along. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to do some things right, a whole lot of things wrong. Yeah. But you're going to be better for it.
Right. Here's the thing, though. I wish that I had those experiences at a younger age.
Yes.
I wish I had those experiences in my teens instead of my mid to late 20s. I started my first real business that actually was like an actual business when I was 30. So I missed at least 10 years of that process, and I'm less than 10 years in now.
Right.
And so like
right.
I went from zero to multimillionaire in
Real
less
quick.
than 10 years. And
Right.
what if I had done that in my 20s and then went to who knows where I would be today?
Well, thank God that you started at school.
Yeah.
You and your wife started at school so that you can put these people on a better track from the beginning. Right. So that's awesome.
That's the goal. That's the goal at the school. We want to start it young, start that process young, and also give them experiences so they know what they want to do. Because like I had no idea. I remember going to a career counselor's office when I was like my 5th year in school or 6th year or something. I don't know. I was like getting close to graduation. I was in philosophy actually.
Okay.
So I was like, what do I do with this degree? So I went to the career counselor at the school, and she was like, all right, I'm gonna give you this test, and it'll tell you what you're good at, what your skills are, and it'll pair you with some jobs that'll work for you. I was like, okay, cool. So I took this test. She's like, what would you like doing? I was like, I don't know. I'm a happy person. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to be happy.
I want to make money.
Yeah. So,
took the test.
I took the test.
Yeah.
And when the test came back, she was like, your scores are all over the place. There's like not one area that you stood out in. Like all of them were kind of even, you know? And I was like, okay, so what can I do? And she was like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. You tell me. Somebody's supposed to tell me what to do. Right. Like all in school, people tell you what to do. So like now I got to make these decisions for myself. I didn't know what to do.
That's it. Hold on. Let me stop you right there. That's a good thing. You said growing up, all the teachers or all authority tell us what to do.
That's right. Yeah. Right. I think in that main system, that's what happens. And that's it's the opposite in our school. We we set up this school and it's not us setting it up. We're with an organization that sets this up. So, but it's a learner driven school. So they are actually the learners are the ones who are in charge of setting up the system. And so that's really hard right now because they're young and they're learning. But the goal is for them to understand that we don't tell them what to do. They have a sort of a map, and then they follow that map, or they figure out how they want to follow
how they navigate through it. See, and I think so when I say take action, I don't mean always necessarily picking up a shovel or picking up some clippers. The big thing is learning how to think for yourself, right?
Yeah.
I used to hear people say all the time, you know, I'm an independent thinker and all this stuff, but a lot of times people are just regurgitating things that they've already heard or just the same old antiquated ideas. But when you actually have to get out there and come up with something on your own to be a creative in every aspect of the word, that's what I think that's the first step of a real taking the action really is, right?
Yeah. So it's funny that you said that word, because I think recently I've learned that I am actually a creative person.
Yes.
And I never really even thought about it before.
Yeah, when you think of it in different terms, right? Not in the artsy type of way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, part of that's probably part of it too.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people are probably like that, and a lot of entrepreneurs are probably like that. We're creative-minded people, and so for me, it's solving problems. That's where I like find a lot of joy, or find maybe this is just what I'm good at.
Yeah,
so that's what I enjoy doing because I'm good at it. So but that is a very valuable skill in business, in the marketplace, and it's not necessarily in a lot of jobs. So you have to kind of follow the rules.
There's no room.
That's kind of where it was hard for me.
And that's the thing. Yeah, there's not a lot of room for that.
That's right.
If you already have a cog or a machine shop that you're working for, there's no room for creativity.
That's right.
But someone thought about that operation. Someone had to put that into motion. That's one of the things I try to be really mindful of with my kids, especially my daughter. Well, I can say my son also. My son is creative in different ways. Yeah. He plays chess, great chess player, and he shows a lot of creativity and a lot of initiative on the chessboard. That's his playing field, and he has some other things too. But with my daughter, I let her dream as big and as often as she wants to, because those are the seedlings of that thinking of your own and being creative, and that's how you figure that stuff out, right? So that's a very important leg right there. So far we talked about education and all that encompassed, and we talked about taking action. And his third leg it doesn't seem as important, but I think it is just as important to finish this acronym of EAT in order for us to be able to sit down in our own business, in our own, whatever. I was close. I was thinking of something brilliant, but I couldn't quite get there. But the T is it's a little bit nebulous, but is trust and truth. Okay. And what I mean by that is you got the education. You have the steps of action, right? You're taking action. Now you need accountability. You need trust.
You need a team.
You need it. There you go, team. This dude. Okay. The T is team. but think about how important that is, because like no one man should be an island, right?
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot of people that do anything well on any front, whether it be relational, social, financial, any by themselves. I think we're better, not only stronger but better when we're in the confines of a team, and have accountability and stuff like that.
That's really good. I think a lot of, especially small business owners and entrepreneurs who are starting out, have a really big problem with this because they feel like they have to do it all themselves. And this goes kind of back to that Michael Gerber book. So if y'all are interested, check out that book, E-Myth.
We'll put a link down here somewhere.
Yeah, I need to get some affiliation for this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that is actually something that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. They feel like they have to do it themselves. You hear people say, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
Do it yourself. Yeah.
And people think that way because they don't know how to find good people. They don't know how to recruit. They don't know how to train. They don't know how to build systems and put the systems in place in their business so that they don't have to do that work themselves. Because at the end of the day, in order to grow, you need to be able to lead other people, and you need to be able to put together a team of people and understand how that works. And so that was what I was saying, that I'm sort of in that stage, or have been in that stage the last couple of years, because I found that my deficiency in myself.
Right.
And I actually lean the other way. Not that I feel like I need to do it all myself, but that I, instead of delegating responsibility, I tend to abdicate. So I tend to just be like, okay, you got this, I'm leaving. And then I come back like a lot later, and I'm like, why didn't you do it the way I wanted you to?
Right,
like, I don't know how you wanted to do it.
Yeah. You're in the minority,
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think a lot of people are that way too. But I think for the most part, though, people who have that fulfillment down, they were like, well, I got to be the one who does it because nobody else knows how to do it like I do.
Right. So, and and that's a skill trait that a lot of people lack.
Yeah.
Which is building up a team.
Yeah,
because you can just go so much further.
Yeah.
But that accountability. So right now, you made reference to it a little bit earlier about us being in a group. We have a team of people that we meet with every morning, and it's for a few different reasons. It's for accountability. It's for camaraderie. It's for vulnerability. It's for just
for strategy.
Yeah, and I believe that there's wisdom in a multitude of counsel, right?
Yeah.
And we get all of that from this group.
Right.
And when you get around some people that you trust and that are on the same mission, growing together, then no one wants to see anyone fail, right? So I was talking to one of the members the other day, and I told her that I've made it my personal mission to make sure that all of us succeed, that no one falls behind, right? And that you build that sense of worth and you build that passion for other people and something bigger than yourself when you work on something that's bigger than yourself.
Right.
So so those are my three principles, pillars in taking back control of your life. So if we can just recap that real quick, and what I believe you need to do, and this is just me, like I said, just a disclaimer, I'm not saying go get certified in these theologies and stuff like that. But education, and that encompasses a lot of things: awareness and thinking, and just thinking differently, not being afraid to do something different, go in different places and do something different than what you've been taught and brought up in. Yeah. Taking action, which is another huge step. Just get out there. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Yeah. Right? That's how you learn. You have to get in the driver's seat and see it from that perspective in order to know what it feels like to get to where you're going, right? And then also have a team of people that you can be accountable to, and that people that you can hold accountable as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And those things right there, if you can do those things successfully and consistently, then you can be the boss of your own life because you're intentionally making a plan to be successful. As long as those things are strong, then you will have more than a leg to stand on, right? So
3 legs, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in this rut of like not understanding what to do, and so I think or just not taking action, and I think this is really applicable to pretty much everybody who's in business or has an entrepreneurial mindset, and even people who don't, because they don't have the right kind of education, and maybe they're stuck in a job that they don't want, or a lifestyle that they don't want. So like for us, it's a matter of intentionally building the lifestyle that we want. So we have certain things that we do because we know that's going to help us get to the place that we want to go. And most people are just kind of going with the flow. So,
yeah, that's true. And if you think about it, when the whole illustration of eating, there's good food and there's bad food.
Yeah.
Right. So like you said, we have an intention. We do certain things with a specific rhythm.
Yeah.
Because we head in a certain direction because we have an expected outcome. Right. So if I'm trying to build mass and stuff, I'm gonna consume more protein. My team of people, my acronym and everything is gonna like reflect that. It's gonna support that. And so right now, whether you realize it or not, and I'm mainly talking to the people that's listening and watching right now, you have a 3-legged stool, but some of your legs might be kind of shaky. Some of the stuff that like your education might not be that great.
Right.
You might not be taking action, or you might be spinning your wheels and wasting your time, honestly. And then also the team of people. One of the big things I meant to say also is you have to change your mindset. You have to change the people that you're around. And it's all this stuff is stuff that I'm sure we're going to try to cover in other things. But I just want to get this main thing across. So if you are tired of life running you, if you're ready to become the boss of your own life, get up and eat. Eat something. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. That's good.
Anyway, man, you got anything else?
I have a lot to say, but we'll put it on hold for now. So
okay,
yeah,
we'll put what is it? Put a tab in it. What's the saying?
I have no idea.
Bookmark. My mom. I'm almost 40. So
yeah.
Anyway, if you like what we do, if you like what we done, you guys like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. We want to keep getting some good stuff out there so we can continue to defy the laws of mediocrity. We don't want no average stuff around here.
Right.
In these parts.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to be putting out a lot of business content, a lot of stuff about just living life intentionally. So that's kind of what this whole thing is about. Not doing what everybody else does. Step out of that norm in order to live the life that you want.
All right. Yep. That's a wrap. You guys take care, man. Defiant Life Podcast.